Okay, so now it's time to get familiar with Ubuntu, but before we just dive into that, let's go through the setup. So I am currently sitting on this PC and I've got my node box set up. The IP address that was assigned during that installation of Ubuntu was 192.168.55.117. And my router is also 192.168.55.1. And my PC is, I think, let me just go over to wired settings and have a look at, yeah, so it's 55.97. Okay, so this is my current setup. So to log in to the node box from my PC, I'm going to call out to 192.168.55.117. And so the way that you do that is to open up a terminal. It's an application that's installed in Mac and Linux. And for Windows, it's called PowerShell. So what you'll want to do is type in SSH Satoshi, which is the username, at 192.168.55.117, calling out to your node box. So I'll hit OK. And then it'll ask you, are you sure you want to continue connecting? So you just type in yes, and the password, which was Satoshi for me as well. So now you can see that I am now logged in as Satoshi at my node box, and now I'm in here. Okay. So what I'll also do, is I'll log in that same thing into another terminal here, just as a reference point, right? So this is a little bit of a bigger screen so that you are able to see what commands I am putting in, and this one we'll just use as a second reference. And this side here, we will also use as a place where we can copy and paste commands and those sorts of things from our browser and into the terminal, which is remote controlling the node box. Okay, so now that we've SSH'd in, it's probably time to get familiar with Ubuntu. Now, just by way of, I guess, support, Ubuntu 24.04, which is what I've just installed, was released in April of 2024, and the maintenance will go until April of 2029. So we get 5 years of support for this Ubuntu version, and we can also get some more expanded security maintenance if we subscribe to Ubuntu Pro, and that'll get us to 2034. So you can have this operating system for many, many years. And yeah, to keep that up to date, however, the first command that I'm going to introduce you to is sudo apt update, which is sudo apt update. So what this command is doing, and then you will also have to type in your password, Satoshi. Now notice that when I type in that password, it actually comes up blank. There's no stars or anything like that, but it is there. So just keep a mental note of that it is working, and that your keyboard's not having, your keyboard is fine and it's working. So I'm going to hit enter here. So what this is going to do is reach out to all of those the Ubuntu servers, and it will you can see that 24 packages can be upgraded. So to see those, it run this. So I'm going to run sudo apt list -- upgradable, and you'll see these are the packages that are available for upgrade. So to upgrade them, it's sudo apt upgrade. And do you want to continue? Now, when you see a capital here and a lowercase here, if you just hit enter, the capital is the default. So if I want to say yes, all I have to do is press enter. I don't actually have to type in Y. So I'm just going to hit enter, and off it goes. Now, this says it's failed to fetch. So maybe sudo apt update again, and sudo apt upgrade. Let's see what happens. And now it's going through. Okay, so that has now finished. Now, say for example, we wanted to copy and paste a command from inside of our browser and into our terminal. It's not Control-V, it's actually Control-Shift-V. So what I'm pressing here, so say for example, I want to copy this command. It's not a command, but you can either right click and paste, or Control-Shift-V, and that should then copy and paste that for you, okay, into the command line. Now, to give you an overview of I guess, how much disk space is being used, because you should know how much of your disk space is being used. So we're going to type in df-h. What this will do is it will show you this device here. We've got the 1.9 terabytes or 2 terabytes, and we're using 6 gigabytes of that. And that I've got available 1.8 terabytes, and I'm using 1%. Now, as I download Bitcoin Core and I install it and those sorts of things, that's going to grow. And so, yeah, in the later series. So, yeah, just keep an eye on this command, and you'll be able to quickly see how many gigabytes you're using of your disk space. Now, if I wanted to run that command again, for example, I can just hit the up button, and the up button will populate, and then you can quickly get that again. If I keep pressing the up button, all my previous commands will, sort of start to populate, and you can use that as well. The other thing that you can do is auto complete. So for example, if I want to autocomplete a file, I just have to type in, a couple of the start of it, and then hit the tab button, and the tab button will then auto-populate that. Now, I'll show you how that works in just a second, but the other thing is this tilde here is your home directory. Now, an explanation of probably sudo means super user do. So anything affecting the system that is outside of this tilde, you're going to need administrator access for, i.e. you will need to type in your password. So anything with sudo in front of it is a super user do this. And what that means is it requires elevated permission to be able to complete that functionality. So say, for example, if I wanted to make a directory in this folder into my home directory, say for example, I wanted to make dir, so make a directory, and call it my downloads directory. So that's now done. So if I hit ls, that should now list out. ls stands for list short. So you can see that I have now got a downloads directory. If I click on ll, or if I type in ll and I press that, I get who owns it and so on and so forth. So there's also these dot files here, but here's the downloads folder. The dot files here represent hidden files. No need to really touch those, but yeah, they are additional folders that don't come up in list short. So just be mindful of that. And now if I was to do that same thing, but if I change directory into downloads, okay, so now I'm in home /downloads. But if I was to cd back, I'm back into my home directory. And then if I cd back again, I'm in a /home. Now, if I list that out, I should see my username, which is, now you can see that the entire, I guess the path is /home/Satoshi. So if I type in cd /home/Satoshi, I come back to my tilde. And that is my home directory. Now, if I was to go back into my home directory, or just cd ... right? And if I said make directory test, see how it says permission denied? But if I type in sudo make dir test, then now when I list that, I've got a new directory called Satoshi and test, which is the one that I just created. Now, if I wanted to remove that, it's rm/rf, and then remove that test like that. So notice I just pressed the tab button. So I typed in TE and then the tab button. If I wanted Satoshi, I'd do that, but I'm just going to delete that. Now, this won't work. Why? Because I need additional permissions. So for example, so really what I need to do is type in sudo rm-rf test, and that should then delete that folder. So when I list that out again, it's gone. Okay, so this is basic navigation. Now, if you go into the directory or the root directory, call it this, represented by this /, you'll get a whole bunch of these directories. Okay, and the main one that we're going to probably be working in is this one called cd /etc system d and then system. Okay. Now, in here is what we have these things called service files. What we'll be doing throughout the series is editing those service files. Not these ones. We'll be creating service files and making sure that we use that to start applications on the boot of our machine. But say, for example, I wanted to create a text file, so text123, and I will open that up. I will write some stuff in there, and then CTRL+X, Y, and then enter will save that. So now I type in ls again, and now I've got this file called text123. Say I wanted to delete that, so rm text123, and it's gone. I'll cd back up, and I want to delete that downloads folder, rm rf down, and then hit tab, and it should autocomplete, and it's gone. So now you won't see that in your home folder anymore. Now, if I wanted to remove nano as a package, sudo apt install nano will install it. Sudo apt remove nano will remove it. And if I want to continue, that way now it's not there anymore. So sudo apt install nano, I'm going to need that, so I'm going to install that. I'm going to install a couple of packages that I think will benefit your notebox. One of them is to install the critical updates automatically without having to do this sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade thing. So the way that you can do this is if you install a package called unattended-upgrades, so sudo apt install unattended-upgrades, and it's already installed. Now to configure that, I'll leave this in the description, and then you'll say it's applying updates on a frequent basis is an important part of keeping systems secure. By default, updates need to be applied manually using package management tools. Alternatively, you can choose to have this system automatically download and install important updates. And so it's asking, would you like to automatically download and install stable updates? And you say yes. And now, if there's a critical vulnerability, it will automatically download and install those packages. So it keeps your system secure. Now, another package that I like is called avahi-daemon. So it's sudo apt install avahi-daemon, like that. Instead of using your IP address, what you can use is nodebox.local. And so what that will do is if I exit out of this terminal and I'm back in my own computer, instead of typing in SSH Satoshi at 192, I can do Satoshi at nodebox.local. And let me just remove the existing key. And I'll click yes and Satoshi password. And now I am back in that in my server without having to type in my IP address. And that's really, really helpful. So if in the event that the IP address changes, I could just use nodebox.local to log in. So I don't need to use 192.168.55.117 anymore. I just use Satoshi at nodebox.local and it will get me in. Okay. And that's what that package does. Now, the next package that I want to install is called Cockpit, which gives me a graphical environment to do some of this stuff in. So the way that I'm going to install that is sudo apt install Cockpit, just like this, and put in my password, and it will download and install this package, which gives me a nice web interface. Now, I'll show you how that works after this has finished installing. Okay, so now that's finished, what I can do is open up a new tab on my browser and type in 192.168.55.117:9090. And I hit accept, and I put in those login credentials, Satoshi, and I log in. Now I have a nice graphical representation of my notebox. So you can see here how much CPU, how much memory I'm using. And if you go into storage, you should be able to see out of that 2 terabyte how much you're using as well. And you also get access to a terminal, which this browser, if you just go allow and then I reload this, you'll be able to see a terminal here. And so that looks very, very familiar with what we're doing here, which is it's going to be the same thing, but now in a nice graphical interface for you. So that's helpful there, and you can use that. The other thing you can do is go into the overview section, and if you turn on administrative access, you'll also get the reboot and shutdown functionalities as well. So you can reboot and shut down using this graphical interface without having to SSH in. The other thing is, because I don't actually need to use this IP address anymore, what it actually ends up going to be is nodebox.local:9090. And if I open up that, well, hey, I'm back in, and I can easily utilize this nodebox.local:9090 to get into the terminal. So it really just depends on which is your preference. Do you prefer to use the terminal application, or do you want to log into this using your web browser? So that's really the pieces of software that I would recommend that you start off with. So the first one being the unattended upgrades, avahi-daemon to get the nodebox.local, and then you can also get the Cockpit for the graphical browser interface where you can control it in your browser. So hopefully that helps you manage how you want to do your workflow. But for me, throughout the series, most of the time I'm going to be in this terminal here, doing it within here. I'm not going to be using this graphical interface too much. I'm going to be using the browser to copy and paste through to commands and those sorts of things as we build this out. So that gives you a quick primer into Ubuntu and some packages that I wanted to make sure that you have access to and you understand that. Now, the only other package that I think is worth mentioning is to install a VPN on your Nodebox. Check out the optional video number 11 in the series where I go through installing a VPN. I would recommend that you use a VPN to protect your privacy. However, you don't necessarily have to. So if you want to, though, now would be a good time to head on over to video 11 so that you can install a VPN before you start downloading Bitcoin Core and all these other packages. So it's up to you. And that's pretty much it. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to support the work that I'm doing, head on over to ministryofnodes.com.au and click on the support button. If you'd like to have one-on-one consulting, click on the consulting button and book a session on the calendar widget. And if you'd like to purchase a Bitcoin node, head on over to the shop and purchase one from shop.ministryofnodes.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.